After surviving a blast at a rally in Bulawayo.
In Ethiopia, one person has died and scores of others injured after a grenade attack at new Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's first mass rally.
And Belgium and Mexico powered towards the last 16 of the World Cup with convincing victories over Tunisia and South Korea respectively, while Germany rescued World Cup hopes with dramatic win over Sweden.
Hello and welcome to the Globe here on SABC News. My name is Dr Showers. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be taking a look at what's happening here in the country, on the continent, as well as the world.
My name is Mpho. Thank you for joining us indeed, and to our top stories now.
Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa says he will not allow a cowardly act to get in the way as the country moves towards elections at the end of July. An explosion rocked the White City Stadium in Bulawayo, where he addressed thousands of supporters earlier this afternoon.
The blast occurred close to the VIP marquee when Mnangagwa waved to supporters while leaving the podium. Both Vice Presidents Constantino Chiwenga, his wife Kembo Muhadi, a minister and journalist, sustained injuries in the blast. Mnangagwa has visited a hospital to check on the injured. The Zimbabwean president took power in November 2017 after a long-time leader Robert Mugabe stepped down following a military intervention.
Well, the July 30th vote is the first without Mugabe since independence in 1980. In an interview broadcast after the explosion on national broadcaster SABC, the president said he did not think those responsible came from Bulawayo.
I understand the chairman of the party, Comrade Obamshinguri, has been injured, and Mrs. Chiwenga also has been injured. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament also, I understand she's been injured, and a few other colleagues, like Komisa, also been injured. But I hear that the injuries are quite minor, except the ones that I just mentioned.
So evil people continue existing despite the beautiful rally you had?
Yes, I don't think the evil people are part of Bulawayo. The evil people must come from elsewhere. The people of Bulawayo were so happy to see me, and I was so happy to see them.
So you're not pointing fingers?
No, the people of Bulawayo, no, I love them, they love me.
Who could be behind this nefarious?
People outside Bulawayo. Outside Bulawayo, I can assure you. These are my normal enemies. And I mean, the attempts have been so many. This is not the first attempt on my life. It doesn't, to me, it's normal. I've used these attempts. 6 times my office was broken in. The cyanide was put on my home offices to threaten me so many times. So I'll continue.
Well, for more on the situation in Zimbabwe, we're joined on the line by Dr Showers Mawowa from the Southern African Liaison Office. Very good evening to you, sir, and thank you so much for making the time to chat to us. Now, following the events that we saw unfold in Zimbabwe today, what is your reaction to what took place?
Yeah, well, look, and thank you for the opportunity. It's quite disturbing and unexpected. Zimbabwe has always been known to be a peaceful country, and we never thought, such a thing would happen in a country like Zimbabwe, in spite of the talk about the role of the security forces and the divisions within ZANU-PF and the security elite. But we never expected to see a real attempt at the president's life, as the reports are suggesting.
Now, a lot of people are suggesting that the president look inward within ZANU-PF in order to get to the bottom of what led to today's events. Would you say that there is a real security threat here, or if it's a manufactured one, or whether you agree with the sentiments that President Mnangagwa should indeed look inward to, get to the bottom of what's happened.
Yeah, of course, it's clear from the president's immediate reaction that he suspects that it's an internal act. And of course, at face value, one can only conclude that if this was a real attempt, it was an internal act, because whoever could have done this had access to the proximity of where the president was. And of course, because he refers to his normal enemies and there having been several attempts at his life, he seems to be looking inward. And of course, coming this at the backdrop of a coup that happened in November, it raises questions about the long-term sustainability of Zimbabwe post the coup. And of course, he is looking inside in terms of his immediate suspicion. Whether or not this is an internally arranged thing, we can only speculate. I think it's too early to cast any aspersions as to what really has transpired. I think time will tell.
Certainly. Now, you've rightly said that this has not been the first attempt on the president's life, if I should call it that. How does he now deal decisively with what's happened? What's the first step he takes?
I think this is what is worrying. Whether it's a stage managed, whether it was a real attempt at his life, what is worrying is what is going to happen next. Are we going to have a night of long nights? If this is an attempt at his life, then it raises questions about his inner circle, whether there are people who are working to undermine him, whether there are people who are waiting to get rid of him and take over from him. It suggests that there is no coherence within his inner circle. And it's obviously going to deepen fissures, generate mistrust, and, we only wait and see what then is going to happen. But naturally, he is likely to strengthen his grip on power, ensure that he deals decisively with those within his inner circles who might be attempting to get rid of him. So and on the other hand, I think the way he has reacted is also interesting, because he has moved to make it clear that he does not respect people of Matabeleland, which I think politically is a good move because of the dark cloud which hangs around him vis-a-vis what happened in Matabeleland in the 1980s. And I think politically that was a good move to then say, it has nothing to do with people of Matabeleland, but it has to do with his internal enemies. But I think at this stage, these are only political reactions. And I think the real issue in terms of what has happened is going to be clear as time goes.
Well, certainly there's been increasing political tension as Zimbabweans head to the polls at the end of July. Clearly, today's developments will further heighten tensions ahead of those elections.
Well, I wouldn't think that they would heighten tensions as such, but it may provide motivation and an excuse to pursue things in a particular direction. So, for some, the question is whether this will be used to justify the presence of the military, the role of the military in the electoral process, whether the president will then ride on this to further securitize the running of the electoral process, the politics of the country. But I don't think it will heighten tensions any more than it already did, because the internal fissures within ZANU-PF, the fact that the securocracy was quite divided around the coup. If you look at the intelligence, the police, the military on one hand, and how the military has so far been effective in neutralizing other arms of the security sector. Those things were known. But I think what we did not expect is actually an open attempt at the president's life. But I don't think it will worsen tensions any more than it already did, particularly within the different factions that were competing to succeed Mugabe, which still exists up until today.
Well, will today's events perhaps heighten security concerns for ordinary Zimbabweans, if not the political tension?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I'm wondering if you think whether today's events will further or will heighten security concerns among ordinary Zimbabweans, seeing as, in your opinion, this will not further heighten tensions ahead of the July 30th poll.
Yeah, I think the concern will very much be around how the government is going to react to this. Like I said, whether it's going to be used to justify heavy-handedness. So a completely different trajectory. Although what we have seen so far with the president's reaction is to say this will not detract us from having a free and fair election. So it could go either way. I mean, this could also be used to mop up public sentiment, a sort of a sympathy campaign to rally behind the president, depending on how he reacts. So if he reacts with heavy-handedness, it obviously feeds into the suspicion that this event is now being politically manipulated to justify a more securitized approach to things. Whereas if he then reacts in the way that he has done so far, which is more statesman-like, it may actually feed a public sentiment that then looks at the president in good light as a statesman who's trying to deal with this calmly, who has been a victim of several attempts at his life.
Doctor, thank you very much for your time this evening. That is Dr. Showers Mawowa from the Southern African Liaison Office, just giving us a quick reaction to the events that unfolded earlier on today in